A woman walked into the showroom and she said, I was about to buy a Hastons. I came across your article. I read it. It made sense to me. Long story short, 45 minutes later, she had put a card in and she'd paid $45,000 for a new bed.
You're listening to the Endless Customers Podcast, brought to you by the team at Impact. Endless Customers is the proven system to become the most known and trusted brand in your market. If you want to start to learn the principles of Endless Customers and how you can implement them in your business, pick up a copy of Endless Customers, a national bestseller wherever books are sold. Ready to start implementing Endless Customers in your business? Talk to Impact about how our coaching program can help you implement Endless Customers to success. And if you want to experience Endless Customers in person, do not miss our upcoming conference, Endless Customers Live, in Chicago, March 30th through April 1st, 2026. Registration is now open. And now, onto the show. Here's your host, Alex Winter.
Today's episode is about what happens when a company starts seeing real results from answering buyer questions before the first sales call. I'm joined by Nick Burrage, an Endless Customers coach who recently worked with a client landing their very first customer directly from content. Instead of chasing flashy campaigns or quick wins, this client focused on creating the right comparison content, the kind of content that meets buyers exactly where they are. Now, that approach not only drove their first sale from content, but it also built a foundation for consistent long-term growth. In this episode, we explore the story behind that first win, why comparison content works so well early on, what it takes to stick with the system during the first 90 days, and how to turn early momentum into a repeatable process. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. It's great to be here. I'm excited and I'm honored to be here. I've been watching the show for some time.
Thank you for watching. That's great to hear. And we're excited to have you as well. The feeling's mutual. We got a lot of ground to cover today. You have a really interesting story. But before we unpack all of that, can you just set the stage for our viewers and our listeners? Tell people a little bit about yourself and your company, just what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I have worked in mainstream advertising, writing the big TV campaigns back in the day. I then set up on my own as a marketing agency. And I guess the pivotal point of the story is when I read They Ask You Answer back in 2021, I'm going to say. I was talking to my coach at the time and he said, Nick, you loved this book. I said, I did. He said, well, you should be a coach for it. And I said, well, that sounds weird. What is even that? Anyway, long story short, I contacted Marcus. He said, yeah, they're looking for coaches. Let's do it. So I became the first coach in the UK. I was on the first cohort going through of coaches, and I'm now a certified Endless Customers coach. And that's part of what we do. It's a big part of what we do. But we have the web team, we have the SEO team as well, and so we take clients through the wonderful Endless Customers program, and it's the favorite bit of my day.
Oh, that's great to hear. And we're not paying you to say that. You genuinely mean that, which is why we wanted to have you on the show, because it's just there's so many things to unpack, and I have a lot of questions. But I think the first one, I'm already going off script here from something that you said. You had mentioned that you had a coach and then you wanted to get into coaching, but you hadn't heard of it before. What made you get a coach to start out? And then how did that lead you into coaching? Like, why do you find coaching to be so important, just as like a general question?
A good question. I got a coach because I felt the business was stuck and I'm pretty sure I was the problem. So I don't have a partner. I had a little team around me at the time, but I recognized that there was something about me that was blocking us growing. And so I got a coach. There's a group in the UK called Action Coach. Marcus did a big tour with around all the action coaches a couple of years ago. And so I think what coaching did was so much. It took me out of myself. I started a lifelong learning. So he showed me books to read, and every book I read, including They Ask You Answer, this is so helpful. It gave me that accountability piece. So it's somewhere, if you work for yourself, you can always say, well done, great day. And actually, maybe it wasn't. So, the accountability, the new ideas, just that third objective eye on things was life changing for me, for my business. We have totally transformed thanks to that coach and all the experiences that followed.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's very insightful. And also I respect that you had the self-awareness to say, hey, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need some help here. And that's not an easy realization, but it's an important one. And I think a lot of business leaders, at least the successful ones that I know and people that run their own organizations successfully, they've all had that sort of light bulb moment where they realize that even though they're great at certain things and great at a lot of things, they still need help. We all need a little help, right? So can you talk a little bit about some of the clients that you have and why you like using the Endless Customer System to help coach them and train them and get them up to speed to help grow their businesses?
Sure. So I guess one of the things that attracted me when I read the book first was the fact that it turned content production into something that I actually enjoyed because I wasn't spewing out marketing words that sounded false. Mm-hmm. Number two, it actually had results. So we started finally seeing people filling in the form and coming to the business. And so I experienced it myself, and there's nothing better, is there, than going out to someone and saying, they say, does it work? And I don't have to say, look at that. I say, yes, I can tell you from my own experience that absolutely it's transformative. And the other thing is I tend to work with slightly perhaps smaller companies than say Impact does. So I will veer towards a position where I'm speaking to the founder and owner of the business. I really like that for a whole host of reasons. We can get stuff done. I can identify them. I can talk to them on the same level. So, and they're people as well. And to see to see people's lives transformed and them to go, but Nick, this is great. We have a client I met with yesterday, and she is a one man plus one part. So it's one man, one woman plus her part-time assistant. And she does curtain designs. And you think, when we met her, she was already doing £600,000, I guess about $850,000 a year. So significant business, but she was struggling. She was unhappy because, it was a rabbit wheel. She couldn't understand how it would grow. She was full up. So we took her through the program. She's more than doubled her business. She's been able to get the help she needs to not feel like she's just treading water all the time. And so every meeting with her is a delight. She is, she's a different human. And that's fundamental. That's a really, really pleasurable thing to see.
It's so rewarding to see that type of growth happen on multiple levels, because it's not just business and revenue. It's also personal growth and professional growth. And it's just a very mutually beneficial thing to be able to experience. And we experience it here at Impact. And that's why the coaching program with you guys is also so incredible, because you get to help these businesses. So I have a stat here. Really, really, I've been waiting. I'm excited to ask you this question. So It says here that you coached a client who landed their first new customer directly from a comparison article. And we love comparison articles here. They're a staple of Endless Customers and what we do with the system here. Can you just walk us through that client and what happened and why this comparison article was so effective?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a great story, and you'll recognize the situation as I tell the story. So the client is called Marsh & Stewart. They are an ultra premium bed manufacturer. So the beds they sell, I'm going to give you the dollar figures, I think about $20,000 up to about $65,000, $70,000 for a bed.
Wow.
That's the sector.
Okay.
In their market, and in fact, the founder used to run the big rival in the UK. So the big rival is a Swedish company called Hastons. Now, Alex, for your budget, they have a bed that sells for $1 million. So they are, they are well positioned, shall we say, and they are a dominant global brand. And most people who are in this market will gravitate towards them. Now, Marsh & Stewart sales were, being honest, flatlining. They came to us in the middle of last year. We fixed a load of stuff on the website, and then we started the program, let's say September 2025. And obviously, sales are flat, but they had a strong reputation. People love the beds. The beds are amazing, by the way, if you ever lie on one. But they had really not done any marketing for a long, long time. So we're in a bit of a tricky position there. We start publishing, we're working away, but it's, month in, month out. There's money going out. There's not money coming in. You can appreciate that happens in very often with Endless Customers. It's that initial period.
Sure, and cash flow is always an important item with any business or industry. Yeah.
And we're another cost in with all that. So we want to prove our worth. Mm-hmm. In February, which is very recent, I should say one of the early pieces we published was, as you've alluded to, a comparison article. We'd early on identified that Hastons were the market leader, and we need to recognize that, not shy away from it, don't hide it. Mm-hmm. Our beds compare very favorably with them. Our founder worked with them for 20 years. We know what goes into their beds. He just took one of theirs and said, I'm going to make this better in every way I can. So we published a couple of lovely comparison articles. We also, in our pricing guide, we name check them and compare side-by-side prices. So materials, construction, pricing, their brand position, full transparency article. In February 2026, a woman walked into the showroom and she said, I was about to buy a Hastings, but I just don't know. I just thought I wanted to have a look round and see what else is out there. I came across your article. I read it. It made sense to me. Long story short, 45 minutes later, she had put a card in and she'd paid $45,000 for a new bed.
Wow.
And as I say, we didn't create that demand, but we certainly intercepted that demand at the right moment. Yeah.
I would say definitely so. That's incredible. And that's not a small ticket item. It's ironic too, because my wife and I just made a new mattress purchase. We just bought a new bed. But it certainly wasn't for $45,000. That's pretty incredible. Wow.
Yeah. As a side issue, I've been obviously tried the beds, and once you've tried one of these beds, you come home angry about your own bed. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm sure. I'm sure. There. I don't even want to try because I know that's going to be the case. Wow. But the really interesting piece and what I love the most is that they were willing to write this article to make an honest comparison, to be really transparent and get detailed about the manufacturing process, the different pieces. And it was so well structured and honest that it built trust with a customer that came in and was basically ready to buy from a different competitor, and they converted her right there just with this one article. That's the magic of this system and endless customers. So that's just really amazing to hear. So go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to follow on that point, Alex. So the the team at this, they have a range of levels of buy-in to the endless customers. The leader is very well bought in, but one of the team said to me the other day, he said, Nick, it's strange, but we had a few people walking now who they buy much more quickly. They seem to be much more ready to buy. Whereas in the old days, there was a lot of tire kickers, 2 or 3 visits. They might buy, they might not. And so anyone who knows the endless customers will know exactly why that situation is arising.
Absolutely. It comes back to, and this is a fundamental thing we talk about here on the show, and it's in the book, and it's at the events. It's something Marcus talks about and we all talk about, but trust is a principle. That's something that's never going to change. And the technology will change. How you gain this knowledge and awareness, whether it's AI or whatever you're using, that may shift and change over time. But the fundamental principle of trust, it's always going to be there. It's always the same. And people make buying decisions based off of emotions. They have to feel that trust. Otherwise, they're not going to feel confident to work with you. So I love hearing that. You talked a little bit about the team. So you said the leader of this team is very much bought in. Do you find that when you work with companies in general, when there's buy-in from leadership, that the endless customer system works better or is more effective for you? Or what have you seen as you work with clients going through the system?
I'm not going to say, I'm going to say it's essential.
It's essential.
Yes, absolutely. I think, touch wood, I mean, as I say, I work with founders. So by the time we've been through the discovery process, then I've pretty much weeded out anyone who isn't going to take this program in the way it needs to be taken, which is absolute leadership buy-in. I mean, I meet with my leaders once a week. So there's no forgetting. There's no, a month where nothing happened. It's not like that at all. So leadership buy-in is one of my prerequisites for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you'd mentioned earlier, and I can relate to this, that you have a lot of experience coming out of the ad world. I did as well. Very traditional. This approach is definitely different than the traditional ad space once was. And I'm curious, when you're depending on the industry or the client you're working with, why is building trust so important? And articles like comparison articles or having self-service tools like pricing calculators and being transparent about pricing, like why is that so important in today's age and for businesses?
Well, the phrase I use around this is that intent is closer to revenue than awareness.
Wow.
So
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
Well, feel free. So, I mean, I've built brands. I know about big brands. I used to work on Ford a lot out in Detroit. And so building a brand takes time. Authority takes time.
Yes, it does.
Big campaigns take money and time. But when someone is searching a specific question, price, reviews, versus they're trying to move forward right now. And if you answer them clearly in that moment, in the right way, you're stepping into what I call like a live buying moment. High intent, a qualified buyer, ready to go. And so you're not, it's not like you're building an asset. You're not running a promotion. So that comes back to the point about being a little bit patient. But that's the big difference I see.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's you're building an asset, and that's a really great way of putting it. And I think it's a good mindset to be in. And it does take time. The old ad campaigns take time and money, like you said. Implementing the endless customer system also takes time, and you need to stick to the plan. You have to be accountable. That's why having a coach like yourself is so important for teams and for businesses. Can you talk a little bit about when companies embark on this endless customers journey, what that first 90 days, what the first 3 months or so is critical for them to succeed and not fall off the wagon?
Absolutely. First 90 days is critical, and it's the vanguard for everything that follows. And indeed, the start of the first 90 days where we align everyone is absolutely essential. So the alignment session, be it half a day or a full day, however you structure it, is everyone in the room. Yes, leadership. Yes, sales. Yes, marketing, customer service. So we this isn't a side project, is what I say to people, and hopefully the leadership, when I'm not in the room, repeats that. So we're changing mindsets here. It's a big task. It's just as if you decided to change your body, you've got to change your mindset. You've got to change how you allocate your time. Yeah, you've got to change what you eat and all those things, and you've got to learn new skills probably. So it's the same.
Sure.
So alignment first, definitely in those first 90 days, and the whole thing is going to feel like a lot for you. So secondly, installing those habits. So clear ownership, content publishing, cadence. Can we get to 3 articles a week? Sales feedback loops. Are we actually getting questions from the sales team? Do they have the right mindset to actually feed back the content and use the content? And the big one is discipline. As I've said before, we are changing what people do. People typically already have a job, and I'm asking them, or the leadership is asking them to do something else. So we've got to change the way they allocate the time, and it's a big project, and there's some challenges in that first 90 days.
Absolutely. And that's this. I'm glad we're talking about this. This is why I wanted to unpack this a bit, because I think sometimes people that maybe don't know as much about the endless customer system, they might hear the book, they might hear Marcus speak, they might hear from someone like yourself or from Impact, and they go, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And they try to self-implement, or they think it's quicker flash to bang. And the truth is, it does take time. It is a mindset shift. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between companies that are set up for success and that do well in those first 90 days versus maybe some pain points that you've seen or have experienced and help people work through that maybe they weren't expecting it and they really had to get the team or they had to do something to power through some of these more difficult and challenging moments?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've never had a team fail. So, I just say that, but I can tell you definitely where I can see the pain points are. Well, I have to say that,
but that's also a big win, because even though there are pain points, you can still power through it. You can still learn and grow and ultimately get to the place you need to be. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna repeat myself slightly here, but number one is time. So, if content is the thing that you're going to do once you've done everything else, then it won't get done. I say to people, if your time isn't protected, then this program doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. So, that's fundamental, and I can't say that often enough. And again, as you alluded to, there's the whiz bang, flash bang. It's like, look, it's very simple. I know you've published 3 articles this week, but it doesn't mean that next week your inbox is going to be full of leads. Unfortunately, it's just not how SEO works. Google's not dumb. It doesn't reward that. It rewards consistent, authoritative publishing over time. So
correct.
You just a thing to know. And what's the third? I would say sales. There's a constant feeling that this is a marketing initiative, and it isn't. It's a sales led, and I always make that clear. Where we have salespeople, I need them in every meeting. So if sales think it's marketing jobs, and they don't use the content, and they don't feed back, then momentum is going to be slower. So we would work really hard on that.
Yeah, great points. And I think the last one especially resonates just because I've seen that time and time again where sales and marketing think that they're separate, and they're usually in different silos or in different buckets within organizations, and they don't really interact with each other the way that they need to, because they really are one and the same. You know, how you position yourself in the market is a direct effect of how you talk to leads and how you close deals, and there needs to be a symbiosis there. And I think bridging those gaps is a big part of what this system is all about. So do you find that a lot too? Do you find like you have to help? Because I know you said you work with smaller organizations. So are they building out teams internally as you work with them? Are they hiring a content manager, or is this usually the business owner that's wearing a couple of hats as they're starting to roll this out?
It's usually the business owner at first. One of them will be hiring a content manager for sure. But I think I find it quite magical, really. As someone who used to work in marketing, I suppose, but to be able to, well, for a start, we use the term revenue team. And if you haven't heard of that, what that means is we put sales, marketing, operations together in one team, and it's a new team for them. It's called the revenue team because what they do affects the company revenue. But to see sales go from, I had one sales guy who used to call marketing the coloring in department. And, to see them go, and I have sympathy with that because, but to see that person go from, okay, I get it. Suddenly I've got, my job got a lot easier suddenly because people are coming to me and they're not going to ask me the same dumb questions that I've answered for the last 2 years. Those are all gone. I'm having more productive, more fruitful conversations. I'm not talking to tire kickers. And so that's a huge transformation, I think. And it's great to see it.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm curious too, how do you help guide and prioritize efforts? So if you're starting to work with a business owner, maybe they think they need to go this direction, but in reality, they need to go a different direction, or they might need to adjust slightly and they're not seeing the full picture. How do you help business owners or sales folks? How do you get them to have that lens to see it correctly and to start to shift their focus on creating content and building trust and doing things a little bit differently than maybe they have in the past?
Yeah, it is. That's the very heart of what we do. So it's a great question.
Yeah. And
I'm not. I guess I take them by the scruff of the neck pretty firmly from the word go. And I guess what's a useful thing is that a lot of them have only vaguely heard of content, so they don't come with lots of preconceived ideas. And so this is a new program for them. So I absolutely set the direction. That's my job, and I hope that they understand that. They all do so far. So so I set the direction. I don't want them telling me. Sometimes they come with an idea for an article and I go, that's great, but in the meantime, we're going to write the articles that matter, and then we'll come back to that later. I'm very diplomatic.
Yeah, yes, and you have to be. And I know every use case is and every business is different, so that's a tough question to answer. But I'm curious too, how long does it typically take before you start to see traction as far as people start to get into the system, they're working the endless customer system, they're writing content, 2 to 3 pieces of content a week? When do you start to see that snowball effect of sales or at least pipelines starting to fill up with new leads as they build trust and as they start to really disrupt their marketplace?
Would say probably between 4 to 5 months. I could almost see it in the traffic, website traffic going up. I can see, and just the story we just told, I think that was about month 4-ish. So I would say typically it's 4 to 5 months where you start to see the fruits. It starts to bear fruit. But I guess there are probably edge cases out there where it's much quicker. I don't know, but
typically that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, you have to. And I think at the start of it, I talk to people about building like a patience muscle here because. As we've discussed a little bit already, it's like, I know you wrote 3 articles last week. It's not going to happen that quickly, but just stick with it. And that's part of what I do as a coach is to say, and that's part of the reason why people drop off content when they try to do it on their own is they write something and they think, well, I don't know if that was a good article or not. And I don't know if it's worked. And after you do that a few times and you don't see anything, you kind of give up. But I'm here to say that was the right article. It will work. Keep going.
That accountability piece. Having an accountability partner is so important. And you made the comparison earlier about it's similar to trying to get in shape or lose weight or having a fitness coach. It's a very similar mentality. And if you want to really, let's say you're trying to lose weight, you want to lose the weight and keep it off and not have a yo-yo effect, you need to have an accountability partner to get there. And it takes time. And I think the juice is worth the squeeze. If we're going to be cliche, it's definitely one of those things where if you can commit to it and you can put the time in and be accountable, the results really speak for themselves. And when we have people that are closing big deals, doubling their businesses, I mean, that's just incredible to hear. So another question, I'm curious to hear from you about what it's like working with Impact, or how your interactions have been with Impact as far as being a partner in the coaching program, and how that's helped your journey and build your business and what you do day to day.
Oh, okay. I could talk about this. It's been incredible. The training at Impact was, I don't know how to say this without sounding crazy, but it was actually life-changing, because it changed the way I communicate at work, at home, with friends. And it sounds like a lot, but the training is, it's clearly what it's aimed at is making me an effective coach. And it might in some cases come down to very small word swaps. So instead of saying to somebody, "Why didn't you do that thing?" I say, "What got in the way of you doing that thing?" And just learning these tiny points, as well as the bigger pieces, the mindset, has been incredible. So it's given me a new skill that I never had. I would have been a terrible coach without the training. It's helped my sales process. So I'm a better salesperson now. When I meet new clients, I'm much more effective. And and the community we have as coaches, and working with the Impact team is something I highly value, because I'm a solo business owner, and to have a community of people going through the same sort of thing is very powerful for problem solving, for learning what works and what doesn't. So overall, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
I love hearing that. That makes me so happy. And I'm glad you're having such success with your endeavors and with your business. And you're also just an incredible person. I'm so glad that you are just embracing all this and it's working for you. And I think another point that you made that's really interesting is the community. And that's a big piece. We talked before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about Endless Customers Live coming up in Chicago, March 30th through April 1st. Little shameless plug there. But the events are a great place to be in person and to really experience that community in the full effect, not just online or through Zoom, right? So can you tell a little bit, just for people out there, why you like going to the events and why you keep coming to the events and how that just plays into your overall experience?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first event for me was very strange, because we'd been remote. I think it was, obviously there was COVID and all that. And then there was the fact that we were on Zoom training. I think I had people in my group. Obviously my trainers were in the States, but I had people from, I'm going to say, Norway, Italy, Austria. So to suddenly meet up with these people and walk up to someone you've never physically met and give them a big hug was quite powerful. But then to get into, the thing people forget about these, it's so energizing, and you learn a lot. And everything becomes very, very real suddenly. And all these concepts, it can feel a bit, if everything's remote, it can start to feel a little bit like unreal. But you get in a room with Marcus or with any of the team at Impact, giving a talk, you meet a whole load of people who've been through the program, business owners. There was a story I never forget, the story of, there was an Australian property company where some guy, very junior guy, had come into marketing, had implemented Endless Customers. And he was now a shareholder in this company. It seemed such success. The boss said, "I have to give this guy a piece of the action." And so his story, where people were just clapping and crying, it was incredible. Yeah. So there's all these moments, and I really, I do love the live events.
That's very powerful, and it's motivating. And I think that's the beauty of coaching, is you're helping others, but then to have the community, it also motivates us. It's just a revolving circle, and that's really wonderful. So last question for you here. For everyone out there that's watching and listening, maybe they've never heard of Endless Customers before. Maybe they want to become a coach. What would you say to them if they're just embarking on their journey and they're trying to find success, either implementing the system or maybe becoming a certified partner like yourself?
Absolutely. Gosh, that's a big question.
It is a big question. Let me think about
that. That's a big question. Well, look, so if you're trying to implement it, I feel your excitement, and I also feel your challenges. It's really easy. to read the book and set your hair on fire and you're running around and you want to do the thing. But it's quite challenging without someone in the room who's done it, been there, can give you the shortcuts to success that might be needed in some cases, or the hard work that you just have to do in other cases. Mm-hmm. So implementing on your own, I'm not here to say you must have a coach, but I think there's a lot of challenges that are going to be massively reduced if you have someone outside. And certainly, actually, even in almost for bigger companies, it's even more important because we cut through the politics, the unwilling and the willing, and it's all mixed up. An outside voice can be so important at a time like that. And even for my business owners, for me to say something in a weird way has more authority than them saying to their employee who's been their employee for 15 years, can you do it? It's like, no, Nick says you have to do it. So
it's so true. That's a very valid point. Yes.
So for that, and yeah, on the coaching side, look, truthfully, actually, I became a coach partly because I really wanted to learn how to do it for myself. So it's been really good for that, which sounds odd, but it's true. And the other thing is, I don't, it depends what background you come from. I was in a marketing background. I kind of seen content as a bit of I didn't like it. It was SEO guys telling me I had to stuff an article, and I'm like, it made me feel yucky. And now marketing makes me feel nice because I'm helping people. I don't have to be a slimy salesperson. So coaching, I would say jump in. Absolutely. It's a great thing to do with your time, whether it's all your time or part of your time. You're helping people. And I go back to that point that, my favorite bit of my day is my hour-long coaching sessions with my clients, because we're right in the minute. We're one-on-one or 1-on-3 or 1-on-4, and people are unknotting problems in front of you, and we're helping them move forward. And it's incredibly satisfying.
Nick, this has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us and to share your story and your experiences and some client wins. This has just been great. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Alex. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to have you back on the show again sometime soon. And for everybody out there watching and listening, this was Nick. I am your host, Alex Winter. Obviously, this is Endless Customers, and we will see you on the next episode.